Welcome back to another episode of the Accounting Leads Now podcast. We have an incredible guest joining us today, so without further ado, let's jump into it. Most firm owners have no idea what their practice is actually worth. Not a rough idea, not a ballpark, no idea. And when the time comes to sell, merge, or hand it off, they find out the hard way. Justin Farmer has closed 100% of his client engagements with an accepted offer, every single one over 12 years. He's a licensed attorney and business intermediary who's sat at the table for more deals involving accounting firms than most CPAs will ever see in a lifetime. He knows what buyers are really looking for. He knows why deals fall apart, and he knows what firm owners do in years before a sale that either makes them rich or leaves money on the table. This is going to be a conversation you'll want to hear whether you're thinking about selling next year or the next decade. Justin Farmer, welcome to the show.
Hey, James. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Really looking forward to this one, Justin. We had a chance to connect at the infamous Scott's Dazzle about a month ago at a gala evening. How have things been since leaving Scottsdale and just getting back into the regular swing of things?
Oh, really good. I mean, this is our busy season. I think there's a lot of exciting things happening in the accounting industry with consolidation and, technology and a lot of change coming. So a lot of folks needing help and, a lot of exciting things happening. So it's busy. It's always something new and we're right at the forefront.
Awesome. Love it. So you've been doing this for 12 years now. Walk me back to the beginning. What made you decide to plant a flag specifically in the accounting firm space?
I mean, how long do we have? I mean, I think you said it only had 25 minutes. So, I mean, that's 12 years ago. Well, I think originally, I'm a lawyer. So originally it was, I wanted to run my own business and actually try to buy a personal injury law firm. And while I was going through that process, I found out that I didn't know what I was doing. No one I could reach out to had any idea how to value business or structure it or finance it, or, the list was long. And, that was kind of the first seed that was planted in my head, is like, if I can't figure it out, I'm a smart guy. I'm a lawyer, I went to business school, and no one else is able to help me. Maybe there are other people out there that could, use this type of service. So that was the seed that I planted long ago. And I launched actually selling law firms. So 12 plus years ago, I was selling law firms, and the business plan was always to move into accounting industry once I kind of cut my teeth in selling deals. So I tell all my clients, if you can sell a law practice, you can sell anything. Everyone loves lawyers or loves to make fun of lawyers. So anyway, that was it. It was moving from, attorneys, which are pretty hard transactions, if you're just being honest, to working with folks who actually understand numbers and can, aren't afraid of valuation and things like that. So that was the reason, was to launch into that industry. And I did that again about 10 years ago.
What surprised you most about transitioning from legal into accounting?
I think the surprise was a pleasant surprise, which was, my clients understood the numbers. I mean, I think I knew that going in, but really when you explain some evaluation technique or ask for, an add back or ask for like verification of something within a chart of accounting clients can give it to you pretty quickly. So that was a pleasant surprise. And not having to fight and wrangle over the financials and looking at the books of my clients, accounting clients, and actually analyzing them is much easier because they're typically in much better order. Not all the time, but most of the time.
Yeah. Now there's a lot of accounting firms up for sale now. I feel like a lot of people there's an appetite for buying firms over the next handful of years, as some firm owners are aging out. They're looking at retiring. They're looking to sell. What would you say is the number one or the top two things that a firm owner should be thinking about now, even if they haven't really had that conversation with themselves of, yeah, maybe I could sell this thing in the future? What are some of the things they should be prepping for, or even just like, paving that way for right now?
Sure. So being my background as an attorney, I help people with, succession planning, estate planning, business planning. So I always lead with the exit in mind. So what are your financial, it's a financial goal, James. It's not, it's as simple as that. What is your goal financially? And again, it's like target setting or goal setting. If you don't know what the end looks like, then you'll never know when you've arrived. So whenever I'm talking to a client, I always ask them, How much longer do you want to work? Meaning, I love what I do. I love tax returns. I love whatever it is. I love my people, whatever. Okay, that's great. How much longer do you need to work? That's the financial question. So how much more money do you need to take from the business? How much money do you need to get to your financial goals so that you can effectively walk away and be happy in your second life with the financial, security that you need. And then once you understand that number and like what that goal is, then you work backwards from there. So the timeline adjusts based on that. So that's really what I do. I mean, some folks are looking at the upside and like the roll up opportunities as a way to accelerate their growth and to make more money faster. And that can be part of that financial goal. But if you don't know what your financial goals are, you'll never really be able to determine if who you're talking to is the right fit and if the deal is the right fit for you and your family, right? So that's it. That's the number one thing. Is it the right financial move for you now? And if your answer is I don't know, then it's not a good idea to just go talking to folks because ultimately it won't work.
What's the number one thing you come across where what causes deals to fall through? I'm sure, you come across a lot of individuals who want to sell their firm and maybe it actually isn't worth that much. And it was the other end of the spectrum. They thought it's worth a ton and it's really not worth that much. Like what would cause that to happen and a lot of deals to fall through?
Yeah. So I have the fortunate track record of having very few deals fall through in my career. I mean, you said 100%. So I'm going to clarify. Success rate is every one of my clients has gone under LOI and gotten to the closing table. Not every deal is closed. Okay. Because for like what you just said, there are a handful of clients who get to the closing table and either change their mind. And that's a financial one. They realize that as you get closer to the end, wait a minute, maybe this isn't as much as I thought I needed to retire. That is the number one reason a deal falls through is, in my experience, is the seller realizes too late that the deal isn't enough for them to actually hit their retirement goals. Or they have again, if I won't take a client that has unreasonable expectations, but I can speak from experience. People come to me all the time and say, hey, I want $10 bazillion for my practice. I'm like, awesome. I can't help you. Because there's a difference between the need. I need $10 bazillion in order to retire versus the market will only pay me $1 bazillion, right? So that's the difference. If you don't have a reasonable expectation, or if you think, frankly, you haven't given yourself enough runway. Hey, I need this. I need my business to be worth 10 times more than it is. That's a need. That's not reality. So I would say that's the number one is not understanding. It goes back to the financial. And I guess there's some other things. I mean, I'm a fixer. So we could talk for an entire podcast about all the issues I have ironed out, at the closing table, but it's typically, I would call it like seller's remorse. Something happens and people get emotional and they start to act a little bit irrational when the closing is coming. It can be a very impactful, almost like a loss. And again, going back to my business plan, since we're being long-winded here, you asked the question.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
I actually, thought about having it's a counseling session. I've had clients really mad at me at closing and I didn't know why. And they're like glaring at me back when deals were closed in person. And I remember I'm like, were you mad at me? I was like, yeah, I was mad at you. Why? Because I had so much anxiety and you're the one who's making me feel that way because you're the one who got this deal here. And it was a joke, right? We'd start laughing about it, but it's very emotional. And so I always prep my clients for, you're going to be upset. You're going to be nervous. And so kind of walking him through, kind of those, it's the whatever degrees of grief, right? Phases of grief. People do actually experience that when they sell their business. And so I try to prepare them for that.
Yeah. I've never sold a business, but I can understand how I could see those emotions coming up. I mean, it's like, I'm also not a parent, so maybe these analogies don't make the most sense, but like it's your baby that you're now selling or you're parting with. So.
It's identity too. Is exactly right, James. That's exactly. Now it's not everyone, some people are like, I had a client tell me that they would take a gently used vacuum in exchange for the practice. They were so burnt out. They were, that's a quote from a client, which was, and I still talk about it today. He was so burnt out. He's like, you get me a used vacuum and I'll take that. He was gone. And then there's others who are like, it's their identity. They've been doing it forever. It's a sense of self and community and all those things. And so you really have to be prepared for that. So we always talk about transition planning. I don't do rip the Band-Aid transactions. That doesn't typically work, generally speaking, but it also helps the person who's selling, ease into the next phase of their career, whether that's, a de minimis or minimized role within the firm or something else that helps them see the light at the end of the tunnel versus they feel like all of a sudden a big part of them has been ripped away. Yeah.
Do you help your clients with reverse engineering the path to selling? I'm sure, like, as you said that, it made me think I don't really know where the target is. I don't know where that bullseye is, and it's
Yep.
absolutely impossible to hit if you have no idea where it is.
That's it.
I know,
Yep.
like, yeah, all right, let's keep growing this thing. Let's build the team. I like the lifestyle I have now. Want to keep growing it, but I haven't really sat down ever to think, okay, in 3, 5, or 7 years, this is the number, and this is the
Yeah.
steps for me to take. Is that something you help your clients out with?
Yes. So like, your business, your legacy, I don't know if you can see that there. So when I first started the business, one of the service lines that I thought I was going to be doing way more of was internal succession or legacy transition planning. Because I did succession planning, estate planning as an attorney. So drafting up estate planning docs, and people often forget to put their business and their estate plan because they just don't tie those together sometimes. And so one of them was like, putting an internal succession within the business. So, hey, who earmark someone, help them move into ownership. And so, yes, so working backwards from, some exit goal. I feel like I'm a broken record here. You can chop this third reference out, but it's a financial one, right? So you typically set a financial goal. And once you hit that goal with your financial planner or yourself, then you can do something, divest, bring on a partner, go open market, sell to employees, whatever it is. And so yeah, I think that's part of it. But at the very beginning, you can always set up your internal documents to allow for a partner to come in. And that's not a bad idea. Like, how do I let someone buy in? Like, how do I get someone equity? How do I get someone either income partnership or actually equity within the business that will help me with my succession, right? You can handpick someone to join your firm, James, and get into the business and say, hey, if you're going to be a partner, a junior partner, you get 10% equity in 10 years. It's call and put, right? Like, I'm going to say I want to sell and you have to buy me out. Right. And there's a mechanism within your actually corporate structure that allows for that exit. So that is something that we, again, I did more of before the run on accounting firms with private equity. That's internal succession planning and within the business. And that is, the bullseye, which is maybe 10 years out. And it's not a mandatory, but you as the majority owner can say, hey, I'm triggering this clause. Are you going to be able to buy me out? And people say yes or no.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. And for those listening who are thinking about acquisition, they're thinking about selling, where would one find, the market of firms that are for sale? How does someone start that process?
Yeah, there are many different listing services out there. I wouldn't say many. There's a handful that list, that just have listings up on the website. I don't know if I want to reference them here or give them the airtime, but so there are some listing services. You can Google accounting practices for sale. Then there are more and more and more accounting. I'm putting in bunny ears for those listening. This is bunny ears. Accounting brokers out there who list on their website. I have them on my website as well. So, if you're looking to buy, you can Google it. Sorry, I just gave it a little Google plug there, but you can search for listings for sale. Okay. But again, depending on who you are and what you're looking for, you can also, there are buy side agents. In my firm, we represent buyers or sellers, never on the same deal at the same time. No dual rep. But there are other ways, like, again, you could look in your local area and say, hey, if you want to buy an accounting firm and you just start looking and networking with other accountants who have grayer hair than you, say, hey, what's your succession plan? We're in an echo chamber, James. Anyone who's listening here and who's at these conferences, we all kind of think everyone knows what's going on in the accounting industry. It's just not true. I would say more often than not, I talk to folks who don't, they have a smaller firm. They don't know what's happening, right? They've been head down, grinding away. You reach out to that firm owner and say, hey, I want to buy your practice. They're going to be like, Eureka, it's a gift, right? So you can just, like, good old fashioned, cold call as well. Yeah.
Interesting. How are you finding your clients? Like how do people come to you? Are you out pounding the pavement? Are you cold calling? Do you have a team that's cold calling for you? I'd love to know what your client acquisition strategy is as this isn't a
Yeah.
marketing podcast.
Yeah. Well, hey, so I network with people who have podcasts more recently. So we'll see how that works.
Great way to get clients.
Yeah, that's right. Great way to get clients. No, so I've been doing this for a long time. So I get it. I would say majority of our clients are referral from past clients or clients. Then we do, again, I'm a marketing guy. We do everything from, mailers. We still do mailers, believe it or not. And just like in the mail, with funny taglines or whatever to remind people we're there. We advertise in trade magazines, and then we do, the cold outreach and marketing campaigns, like, to targeted audience. So I love referrals, especially if it's from a client, because then again, that's just one more, it goes both ways, right? So I have had clients refer me clients, and I'm like, I take every client referral, I'll take the call. And I would say some of my clients that I've received from those clients have not been ideal, but I will take every referral. That's who I am. And I like, again, if they're not the right fit for me, I'll let them know. But, that's pretty much is word of mouth. I've been doing this for 12 years now. So it's quite a few people out there, hopefully saying I did a good job.
Nice. Outside of referrals, referrals are very tough to scale. As you mentioned, it's unpredictable what type of lead or referral you're going to get. And
Sure.
It takes a long time of doing really good work and
Yep.
being very intentional, like remind your clients to send over referrals. Outside of referrals, what's been the best marketing strategy for your firm and what's been the worst?
Oh man, best marketing strategy. I'd say the most consistent is going to trade shows. So whenever I attend trade shows and do public speaking, that typically precipitates folks reaching out because they've, seen I'm a real human and,
Yep.
Somewhat articulate and know what I'm talking about. And then I think, secondarily to that is like, we do case studies and we send out, our case studies and promote those in email campaigns and that sort of thing. Again, it's real. I mean, they're real. They're not made up, fake case studies to, promote a hypothetical transaction. It's real transactions. So I'd say those are probably the number one. And then, that one that has worked the least.
Yeah. Like what's flopped? What's the ones that you're like, oh man, yeah, that one that sucks.
Well, so we do pay to have lead gen. Lead gen, you have to have lead gen companies help you, right? Like I don't have a salesperson on just constantly making phone calls and doing outreach for me. And so I've been using lead gen companies forever, like for years, like 5 to 6 years. I don't know, forever. I had one who remained nameless. They were just getting up and going, and for whatever reason we used them, and it was a Ponzi scheme. He even admitted. He basically said, I charged you and then use what you charge. I charged you to, like he basically sent me an email and he's like, I can't pay you back because I used the money you paid me to pay other people. And I was like, not my problem. I mean, like I'm a lawyer. And I was like, just give me my money back. Because they didn't do anything, right? They promised a certain amount of deliverables and every single metric they promised, they didn't hit a single one. It was blatant. And I was like kindish to him. And then I was firm. I was like, hey, you admitted to breach and I feel sorry for you. And you want me to let you keep my money, but give it back. And then I hired another lead gen and they've been great.
Yeah.
So that was it. I mean, I'm not afraid to spend money on marketing. And I did sponsor a conference. I will not name the conference, and I did not get much out of it. So again, I sponsor conferences. I go to conferences. When I speak, I typically get things in return, but just throwing your logo up somewhere, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get return on that investment, at least in my experience.
Yeah. I mean, that's interesting. That's wild. That first story, you saying the guy like emailed you back of, yeah, look, I paid other people and it didn't work. It's like, well, yeah, that's not a you problem.
That's exactly what I said. I said, not my problem. You breached the contract. So either pay me my money back or it was crazy. I feel bad for it. Feel bad, but it was, I don't again, going back to customer service and delivery of service. I've been doing this and I expect a high level of service. Sure. I give a high level of service. So again, if you're not going to give me the service, don't lie about it.
Yep.
And again, that's it. That's how business works. You deliver on your promises. Don't over promise, under deliver.
Yeah. That's tricky there's put a finger down if you've been burned by marketing before. I'm sure everyone listening has been there.
Yeah.
It makes it tough when something new does come around and when you want to try something, because like those scars don't go away quick. Everyone works really hard for their money. So it is tricky to be willing to reinvest again, but it sounds like you have done that and it's paying off, which is awesome to hear. You didn't take that as, all right, that was the one time it didn't work. Like all marketing is brutal and it doesn't
Yeah.
work. So you kept trying and pushing through. Is the company you're working with now, they can remain nameless, are they kind of one channel for you? Are they doing a handful of different things?
Yeah. So the company we're working with now, they do lead gen. They actually the ones who created our more recent case studies, and they're great. And like
Awesome.
whoever's on the creative team, they just look great. Right? We had like very simple case studies, and now these
Nice.
ones look way better. Yeah. So for me, like lead gen, taking a lead and turning into a client is like, I'm a long game guy. I've been doing this for a long time. So I'll talk to a lot of people who are like, hey, I'm thinking about selling in 5 to 10 years. I'm like, okay, great. Why? Well, because goal. Okay, great. But if it's like, so I can take a lead and either turn them into a client or prospect pretty quickly. But that's what this company's doing. I don't need them selling for me. I just need them getting people that want to talk about their succession. I think that's as I've grown in my own career, I used to think I want a salesperson, but my clients don't want to be sold. They want to have a conversation, right? And that's different. Like someone who's trying to sell, like on sign up. That doesn't mean I'm going to get a good client. Like I said, like they have to be ready for the transaction, which takes more conversations with me to kind of determine if they're even ready. So yeah.
So I think that's such an important piece you touched on of it sounds like you're looking for the opportunity, the interest from someone, and from there you'll take it, you'll nurture it. What would you tell, the listeners when it comes to even vetting or finding a marketing / lead gen or growth partner for their firm? What have you looked for in the company that is working really well now? What's your expectation? And obviously you're running with and converting, which I think a lot of people misunderstand. They think a lead is credit card, it's in Stripe, they just have to hit submit, where it's
No.
here's the intent. This person wants to talk to you about the thing, widget, service you sell.
Yep.
You have to sell. It's not, hey, Justin, I'm a credit card ready. I saw your ad. I saw your message. Can you just hit submit and charge my card? That's not a lead.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think it's a partnership, right? So long before this, I managed sales people in a different life, and it's a partnership. When you're working with a salesperson or you're managing a team, you have to tell them what the goals are. It goes back to goals. I want to talk to this type of client with this type of business at this type of revenue in this industry. And the more detail you provide, the better your lead gen company can perform. If I had just said, I want to talk to any accountant in the United States, I would get a ton of bad leads, a ton. But I'm very specific: geography, size, type, et cetera, right? And so that's not a perfect science. I do get folks who aren't ready and they're 5 to 10 years out, but those are leads for the future. And like I said, conversion, people's plans change all the time. So I think it's considering making your lead. Don't become, I'm like that first story made me sound combative. We gave them all sorts of time. They had a right to cure. Like we gave them more time. I was like, fine, it's fine. You said you want to go 3 more months to try and catch up. Fine. Like whatever. Like in the 3 months, still the same result, right? And I was like, okay, So it's just like fine tuning it and giving, they're part of the team. You have to treat them like part of the team and give them what they need to actually understand what you're selling and what you're looking for. And so, that's our biggest thing is, I consider them, they're my outsourced, team member. Yeah.
Yeah. Wicked. Very cool. So Justin, as we get ready to wrap things up, you've shared so much knowledge already around what you do, what to look for, how to get ready to sell your firm. What is the actionable piece of advice when this episode is done playing for the listener? It ends, they don't go into a new episode of something else, their favorite song doesn't come on. what should they walk away from in this episode and take action on immediately that will better either their individual life or better their business?
Wow, that's a
The
wish you
long-winded
just sent
question.
that. You should have sent that to me ahead of time for the closing, James. But
No, it's
here's what I'd say:
okay.
it's like, as the owner of the business, it's your journey. It's individual, and don't have FOMO. To use a term from being a dad, don't have fear of missing out. Right? If it's not the right time for you, that's okay. So you leave this podcast thinking, okay, I want to figure out what my goals are. I mean, I talked to a lot of people at Scott's Dazzle who didn't know what their goals were, but people are talking to them and they're thinking, maybe I need to sell. I'm like, are you ready? I don't know. Then you're not ready. That's the answer. It's okay to not be ready to sell your business, right? Coming from a sell side majority guy, that doesn't sound self-serving. It's not. If you're not ready, you got to figure out when and how to become ready. And so that is planning for your exit, figuring out the value of your firm so you can actually figure out what it'll be worth. So we can help with that. So like, if you don't know what it's worth, be conservative, plan conservatively, and then set a goal. And once you set your goal, now you have a timeline and you can aim towards that bullseye that we talked about earlier. That's what I would say. Don't feel FOMO and sell when you're ready, and you're ready when the financial goals align.
Okay, I got to go back on what I said. That was going to be the last question, but some stuff there, it shook my head around. I really need to ask, what do you say to the person who's like, my firm will never be big enough to sell it? Who's gonna buy this? They may feel in their head it's small. Maybe it is actually a little bit small. Is there an appetite for those firms in the market? I know that's staying pretty vague. I haven't shared any numbers or head count, but I'm just curious because I know I've thought of that a lot in the past as well. And I hear of other people selling marketing companies, and I'm like, but it seems like there's always someone who wants to buy something. I'm just curious from your perspective.
Yeah. I believe that, specifically talking about accounting, every accounting business can be sold. Like, there's, like, in my professional opinion, if the seller is reasonable. It goes back to the number. Yes, your one person shop, $500,000 revenue, give or take, can be sold, but is someone to give you $1 million in cash for it? Absolutely not. Right? So structurally, it can be sold if you're reasonable every single time. Again, I don't think there's too small. Yes, some of the the roll-ups that we're maybe alluding to will not look at a certain size, but that, again, don't be FOMO. There's other people out there. There's owner operator. There's an accountant down the street. There's a friend. There's another firm locally that would take your business. So there's many, many options outside of what everyone seems to be focusing on right now. And so don't feel like, oh, I can't do anything with my business. That's not true. You can.
Yeah, interesting. So it doesn't need to be $100 million or $400 million exit. That doesn't have to be the entry level.
No.
Very cool.
No, it really, the size doesn't matter. It's about you and your goals and in your succession plan. You can find someone who wants to take over your business or a firm that wants to take over your clients.
Very cool. Justin, thank you so much for coming by. I will wrap it up with this final question for you. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received personally or professionally that we'll tie a bow on this episode with?
Take time for yourself. So I had a business coach say, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of your business and your family. So make an appointment with yourself every day and keep it. So if it's exercise or lunch or coffee, whatever it is, just like you wouldn't cancel on your client, don't cancel on yourself. That was pretty impactful for me. And I have it on my calendar, personal time every day, and then you can't schedule on it.
I love it. If you wouldn't cancel on your client, you're not going to cancel on yourself. That's cool.
Exactly.
Justin, thank you so much for coming by. This has been an awesome episode. I hope the listeners got a ton of value from it. How can people find you? How can they get in touch with you? They want to continue the conversation or potentially even work with you down the road or now? Yeah, James, I really appreciate it. It's been great. You can visit my website, privatepracticetransitions.com. Phone number is 253-509-9224. You can reach me on all the socials that my marketing manager manages for me. They're all there. But if you really want to get a hold of me, just call or email Justin@privatepracticetransitions.com. Awesome. Justin, thank you so much for coming by. And I'm just going to throw in there real quick for everyone listening. Justin did something really cool that so many of you are going to call you out on do not do. He made it very easy to get in touch with him, and he's not scared to share his number. Everyone, if you're running a business, why you make it so hard for people to get in touch with you is beyond me. Make it easy for your clients and ideal clients to get in touch with you. So Justin, love the masterclass there of just sharing your phone number. So many people don't do that. Again, Justin, thank you so much for coming by. This has been awesome.
You bet, James. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. And thanks everyone for listening.
That's a wrap on another episode of the Accounting Leads Now podcast. If you got something out of today's conversation, do me a favor. Hit subscribe so you never miss an episode, and leave us a review wherever you're listening. It genuinely helps this show grow. And the bigger this community gets, the better the conversations we can bring you. Now, here's the part I actually care about most. If you're running a firm and you're still relying on word of mouth to bring in new clients, I want you to hear this. Referrals aren't a growth strategy. I'll say that again. Referrals are not a growth strategy. They're a hope strategy. If you're ready to stop hoping and start building a system that brings qualified prospects to you consistently, go to accountingleadsnow.com and book a call with my team. We work exclusively with accounting, bookkeeping, and tax firms. We'll look at your situation specifically and tell you what we would do if it was our firm on the line for bringing in new clients. And if you want to go deeper on your own first, I wrote a book called Booked Solid, Digital Marketing Strategies that actually work for accounting firms. It's the digital marketing playbook built specifically for accounting, bookkeeping, and tax firms. Link to grab a copy is in the show notes. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.